Hi there, and thank you for clicking on this video. This is going to be the second part of the modding series. This is going to be a little bit more selective. We're going to start talking about basic prime mods, maybe set mods, using mods where you specifically have to farm them or go to specific places to get you guys ready for Steel Path. We're going to talk about upgrading weapons. Um, and a little bit about proc diversity. So we're going to cover the frame, the primary, secondary, melee, and a highly recommended pet, the Panzer. We are going to talk about where to farm, say, like set builds or set mods for builds, and um, what they do. We're going to talk about uh, like multiplicative damage reduction and multiplicative scaling and whatnot. Very basic stuff. We'll keep it super simple. Okay, so this was the build that I recommended last time. Your new build for the rest of the star chart is slowly going to turn into this, and this is going to include arbitrations. Um, so the build does the same thing as before. This is the build that we had before, but the effect is the same. But with this, we are heavily doubling down on survivability. The goal here is not to get the frame to do damage. The goal of the frame is to keep you alive, right? So we're looking for a nice sturdy rock so the enemies can smack us and we can stay alive. Um, and we're not going to be talking about arcanes. So this is still very free to play friendly. You will need catalysts for a lot of these. But again, I'm going to recommend Nezha. This is my personal go-to mission runner. Um, I have plenty of builds for it, but this is a one forma build and it's an aura forma. So for now, mod whatever you can, but slowly start noticing if these mods drop. Stretch you should get pretty easily. Vitality is going to drop by the truckload. Quick thinking is a 1% drop chance from Ancients. So this is going to be you're probably going to get this on Deimos um, or any infested mission. This comes from a unit. So you're not looking for like a mission reward or like a cash reward or any sort of like in-game shop or something for like a redeemable. Equilibrium, this is the upgraded version of Equilibrium. When you get it, just swap it out for the flawed one. Like this one, see how this one caps at 60%? This one goes to 110. This will give you health and energy at the same time. So every time you pick up a health orb, it will give you a little bit more of an equivalent of energy at the same time. If you pick up an energy orb, it'll give you a little more of equivalent of health. So vice versa. Flow still the same. We have not gotten a prime mod, so this is still the same. 100 adrenaline. I cannot recommend this enough. This is going to be the first set mod that we talk about. This is from Cetus. The best thing about the open worlds is the bounty rewards. This is one of them. Just make sure to check back every now and then and see if this is there. If you do not want to sit there and wait on rotation or say it doesn't drop after the first couple of times, Rage is an acceptable replacement. It's got 3 ranks instead of 5, so that'll help you out a little bit more. But more importantly, lower capacity cost, so it's a little bit easier to slot. You see, with 100 adrenaline, it's 9. With Rage, it goes to 10. So pretty basic. Vitality, we're still going to be using this. Quick thinking comes from Ancients. And the first quote-unquote expensive mod, and I would say these are going to be starting to become core mods for very later game builds, is Adaptation. You get this from Arbitrations. This is not going to be something you're going to be able to slot earlier than that. I would... Let me check and see what this actually costs. I don't think it's worth buying unless it's like literally 5p. If you're selling on the market, you might already have this. Alright, it's 14p. I don't think it's worth it. It's a pretty easy pickup from arbitrations. It's rotation B. You should be doing arbitrations as soon as you unlock them. So pretty straightforward. You get this from arbitrations. It's a drop, or not a drop, but it's a round reward from rotation B. Pretty basic. Pick it up. It is completely fine to leave this at rank 2 for the time being. Though if you do pick up an extra one for whatever reason, it's pretty common, and I've done it myself. You have a max rank one and an unranked, and there's also an argument for one at rank 7, but that's kind of whatever. So unranked is good for now. This is obviously base steel path. You finish the star chart. You're just trying to get a little bit tankier to make those missions that you're running at the end of the star chart way easier. The next one is rolling guard. From arbitrations, you get this from the Hexus store. From running arbitrations, you turn in a Vitus Essence and you pick this up. This is an amazing mod for a lot of reasons. But it gives you 3 seconds of invulnerability, and it removes status effects on a 7-second cooldown. So if you're rolling around, if you're dodging, you can only take damage for 4 seconds out of every 7. So you're halfway to being immortal. So it's mostly there for the status effects. Eventually, the 3 seconds invulnerability isn't going to be too big of a deal because you're just going to be taking so much fire, you'll die in 4 seconds anyway. But this is really, really amazing later for cleansing status effects on a dodge roll. So must have for higher end content, or at least having the mod available. There's definitely an argument for this being a core mod, and it being such a core mod that you need to have a reason to take it off, because at higher levels there's so many status effects being triggered, especially with like the Arson Eximus. The heat, you're gonna get hit with a heat proc. This allows you to get rid of it and get to safety. It's just a super useful mod. Stretch is another core mod. It's a part of a lot of really, really polished builds. There is another alternative to it now, Archon Stretch, but this one is rank 9, or cost 9 capacity, where Archon Stretch is something definitely later. And it has a 16 capacity cost, but it doesn't actually give you any more range, so you're going to be using regular Stretch most of the time. So this would be an example of a steel path ready build, with no consideration of arcanes. Aura wise, what we're going to do for the aura is, because Nezha is an excellent frame to learn shield gating on, because if you look, with the 200% increase in shield from the ranking bonus, we're only at 150. So to learn shield gating, one of the things we can do, and this is going to be another thing that's just going to be part of your builds, is we're going to use something called a Decaying Dragon Key, which is going to reduce your shields. But what this allows us to do... Hold on, I need to back out. There we go. Is if you look, our shield is at 38. Okay. So when we're casting our abilities, we are going to be able to generate shield every time we spend energy. right? So if you cast your 2 or if you cast your 1, um, it's going to cost you 25 energy, and Brief Respite is going to generate 150% of 25 and give you shields. So let's look at what that actually is. 25 plus 50% is 37.5. So we're actually going to need to get energy or shields from another set. And it's actually going to be Augur Reach. Okay. So super important. We're going to swap out for Augur Reach, because what this is going to allow us to do is to shield gate and gain another form of damage mitigation. But this is the recommended build. The play style of how this is going to be is as you see in the top right up here. See how I only have 85 shields? I'm going to cast 2. Now I'm at 95. Now I'm at 105, 115. And as I cast abilities, I'm going to gain shields for them. So pretty basic. The shield gating is going to allow you to heal. One of the things about Nezha is Blazing Chakram, and this is why I recommend Nezha so much. And this is the Prime Nezha, which just got vaulted, so it's not that easy to farm, but the regular Nezha is just as effective. Is the health orbs that are basically guaranteed drops from enemies that you hit with your your 2. Because you have equilibrium, will then provide you with energy. So it's very, very hard to run out of energy on this Nezha. And the other good thing about it is because you're dropping health orbs and energy orbs, this will be interacting with quick thinking, which you get from Ancients, and providing you with a ton of EHP, effective health points. So this is a surprisingly tanky Nezha. And will definitely get you into the start of Steel Path. Pretty basic. If you find that you enjoy this Nezha, one of the things I would recommend is just straight up upgrading Adaptation. And this will get you surprisingly far. And again, this is a build that you can use where you don't need arcanes. And I've done Steel Path with this before. And it was the one forma is an aura forma. So the rest of this is going to be something you can slot directly. And even then, because of the leftover capacity, you could throw Brief Respite, which I would recommend getting. It is a part of really polished late game builds. One of the mechanics that you use to survive is shield gating, which is in another video. I would say check it out. I'll leave a link for it in the description. But this is another mod, which is an aura, where you kind of need a reason to not run it, right? So, Adaptation, if you like Brief Respite, put Brief Respite on. You have enough capacity left over on this where you do not have to forma this. So this is a 0 forma Nezha build that can survive in Steel Path when you get there. And more importantly, this will make running star chart missions, as you do like arbitrations and whatnot, trying to get like galvanized mods and whatnot, significantly easier to do. Okay, this makes the regular star chart a breeze. So this is you've done the star chart, you have arbitrations unlocked, and you're just at the point where you're starting to do Steel Path. This makes doing star chart stuff and arbitrations and base Steel Path very easy once you get Rolling Guard, which is literally just turning Invitus Essence, and Adaptation, which is a rotation B reward on arbitration. So eventually you'll get this. Just run a couple arbitrations to knock it out. And when you pick one up, don't even rank it up, just throw it on. So until then, if you don't have Adaptation, you can throw on Armor. Health and armor. Armor even boosts warding halos initial damage or initial health value. So it helps out. Right? So 1625 to 2312. Easy enough. So nice and basic. You're going to have plenty of energy. Just make sure you're throwing that 2 out. The next one is, let's go ahead and build this up. We're going to start talking about galvanized mods. We are not going to be doing arcanes yet. Because this is obviously right before Steel Path is what this is aimed at. This is polishing off the star chart. You have the star chart done. You're in the process of running arbitrations. And maybe you've dabbled around in like Steel Path at like the lower levels, right? So Split Chamber, the direct upgrade, is Galvanized Chamber. Now we're going to assume you have Exilus slots. You have picked a weapon that you enjoy, and you are starting to put Forma into it. And you have farmed up Exilus slots. If you don't have one of these, it is a Requiem mod, or a Requiem Relic drop. It's the rare reward for this. And to be honest, from a lot of Gift of the Lotuses missions, this is a relatively common reward. More like an uncommon, but this shows up there also. You can also get this from login rewards. So we're going to move Rifle Ammo Mutation from over here to the Exilus slot. We have not used an Arcane yet. And the simple upgrade is straight up going to be just more multi-shot. The Vigilante set, this is another Cetus mod. I would highly recommend you get this. The other one you could do is Vile Acceleration, specifically for the Ignis Wraith. Vile Acceleration is from Deimos. It's the Orokin Vaults. It's one of the things you can RNG. There is a very large mod pool there, but it's definitely worthwhile. So Vile Acceleration or Vigilante Armaments. If you're finding that you're using ammo, or you're having trouble keeping the ammo up, Vigilante Armaments gives you more damage per ammo that you consume. If you don't find the ammo a big deal to keep up Vile Acceleration, it technically does more damage. So, easy enough. The next one is, so it's still pretty basic. Corrosive. Oh, and 100 Munitions is a Cetus reward from a bounty. You can also get this from round rewards also. So this isn't completing like the 5th round rotation reward. So you can pick this up after doing plenty of bounties from Cetus. You should have a couple of these actually. So another set mod. This also boosts the damage of your companion, which is kind of whatever until it's not, and we'll discuss that in a bit. So base, still the same thing. Base damage, crit chance, multi-shot. This is on every primary that uses crit chance, that is capable of using crit. Even though the crit chance is 17, because it's effectively a beam weapon, and you can hit so many enemies at the same time, you still have a really good chance of proccing 100 munitions and dealing slash or corrosive and heat on a crap ton of enemies. So, pretty basic. Corrosive for Grenier. Magnetic or Toxin for Corpus. Or for, in this case, it would be Magnetic and Toxin. So, an example of that would be Magnetic. Like this. Sorry. It would be magnetic and heat because the weapon is innate heat. So we can't do magnetic toxin, even though, to be honest, magnetic gas wouldn't be the worst thing. But we're going to go hunter munitions for the occasional enemy that does have armor. So this gives us a scaling dot where it just continues to stack the more we proc it. Hunter munitions deals ticks. Each instance of multi-shot is capable of triggering this. We have our arbitration, so this will scale. It doesn't show it. Our multi-shot, only the plus 80% shows. So originally we have one multi-shot for one bullet. Now we have an 80% chance to shoot an additional bullet, or have two bullets fire at the same time, even though it consumes one ammo. But then it has the stacking effect, which is not shown here, and this will get you into 3. So a significantly stronger weapon. The conditionals do not show. And if you don't have vial acceleration, you just do another fire rate mod. Like Shred, or Speed Trigger, or Vigilante Fervor, which is a Cetus reward. So they're from the bounties. So food for thought. The setup is pretty much the same: base damage, crit chance, multi-shot, fire rate, and ammo mutation, ammo recovery got moved off into the Exilus slot now. If you don't have an Exilus slot, or you don't feel you have a weapon that you want to put Forma into, Vial Acceleration goes away, Rifle Ammo Mutation comes back, and this is a weapon that is very much able to do Star Chart. Just as is, no other help needed. This will do any Star Chart mission, even with the regular split chamber. This will go all the way up to base Steel Path. It's going to have a bunch of trouble, though, without the arbitration mods. So this is your Star Chart Broom Sweeper. Pretty basic. The first upgrade is going to be the multi-shot, because it is a straight-up damage increase, and what a wonderful increase it is. So for the additional capacity cost of 1, we almost double our damage. That ain't bad. So there you go. A basic finishing the Star Chart. You're doing arbitrations build. Just make sure to mod these guys appropriately. Gas for infested. You could do gas electric also, or do gas hunter munitions. Corrosive for Grenier, and magnetic for Corpus. Pretty basic. Okay, pistol. The build honestly isn't going to change too much. The same upgrade that we have is going to be galvanized diffusion. The build so far is not going to change too much. The one thing that is going to change is if you have a weapon that you feel comfortable putting an Exilus mod into, it does open up some possibilities. Like say pistol ammo mutation would go over here, and a new mod which will become available through arbitration. So this would be something where you've done arbitrations but you haven't done Steel Path. This would become available, and this is something that you get from the Arbiters of Hexus, and the galvanized diffusion. This weapon deals significantly more damage compared to the last one. The upgrade that we had last one, where it was the 10, or the upgrade setup that we had the last time, where it was the 101 setup. But the build is essentially the same. Base damage, crit chance, crit damage, multi-shot. Then we had this modded for corrosive, and then fire rate. Now what's changed? We moved the ammo mutation off to the Exilus mod slot, right? And then we added this thing called galvanized shot. This mod gives us additional status chance, which is the only thing that we're seeing, right? The 16 to 24, the 80% increase, which scales off of the base status. So in order to see it, you would have to go here, see how it's 10, right here. We add this and it goes to 18, right? But when we add this, it adds 6, which is 60% of 10 is 6. So that's what's getting added. This weapon will do significantly more damage, especially when you consider the quills, because it's the Hystrix. It'll easily do double. So this is starting to become a steel path capable weapon. It's definitely good for the star chart. This is strong enough on its own to kill almost anything on the star chart, at least within the first 20 minutes of survivals. Just make sure to quill appropriately if you're using the Hystrix. I recommend this weapon a bunch, especially because I think it's like an MR7 or an MR10 weapon. But this is going to be the next tier of weapons where you've completed the star chart, you're trying to get ready for Steel Path, maybe you've dipped your toes in it a little bit, but you don't have all of the Steel Path stuff. So the star chart's done, you're trying to clean up some missions, you want to get the galvanized mods ranked up, get your Zeraman weapons locked down, which is what I would highly recommend you do before you do the Steel Path. And get the galvanized mods ranked up. You need at least the multi-shot and the base damage from each of the weapon types: primary, secondary, and shotguns. So at least get those, and the additional one can be like the one for later, right? So pretty basic so far. Nice little corrosive build. This is for killing Grenier. Again, toxin, magnetic toxin for Corpus, corrosive heat for Grenier, gas electric for Infested. And because this weapon has the quill use on it, it's actually pretty easy to mod for. You just mod for whatever the combo is that you want to deal with the enemy's defensive scaling. So like magnetic for Corpus, and then you would just select the Toxin Quill, and you would just use that to just run around and shoot stuff, right? Pretty basic. So this would be an example of like a 102 level build where it's like it's not a basic new Tenno, but this isn't something where somebody's gotten through a couple barrel rotations and has the prime mods, or somebody that has done Steel Path would do. So basic thing: damage, multi-shot, crit chance, crit damage, 2 elemental mods, a fire rate, galvanized shot, which is more status chance and more base damage, and now we're starting to use the Exilus mod. So pretty basic. Now let's move on to the melee, and I'm going to have to swap out some mods. Okay, so here's the mod setup that we had before. And let's grab this. This is going to be the one that's a little bit more to talk about. Okay. So we're going to be... This is the setup that we had before, right? Base damage, attack speed, crit damage, crit chance. Let's put our new mods on. Now we're going to have Condition Overload. We're going to use a mod called Blood Rush, which is our new crit chance mod. Okay, Organ Shatter is still Organ Shatter. Berserker Fury is still money. And range, wherever that is. Okay. So no primed mods yet. This is, you finish the star chart, but you're trying to clean everything up. Condition Overload, Berserker Fury, Blood Rush, and these 3 mods here are Deimos mods, and they're conditionals. So in the middle of the mission, they get stronger, right? So Berserker Fury, if you see, it looks like our attack speed went down. So this is still a star chart clearing melee setup, but it's starting to dip its toes into longer survival runs on the star chart, doing those arbitrations, and you haven't really gotten to the steel path yet. Okay. So, reach, same as before, gives you more range, allows you to hit more things at once, which is always good, makes each swing more effective. Blood Rush, as you gain combo counter, it's the thing that appears in the bottom right. This will, with each combo counter increase, so it maxes out at 12, 13 for the Venka Primes, but we'll ignore that for now. So you'll get 11 stacks of Blood Rush for a total of 440 crit chance increase based on the 35, the base crit chance only of the weapon. So this is the Broken War. It is a quest reward. So we're going to be getting some nasty damage out of this. Very juicy crits. Because it's a base crit chance of 35. And Blood Rush will increase this. Let me pull the calculator back up. 35 plus 440%, which would give us to 189 crit chance. But it doesn't show it. Right? This is a conditional mod that scales in mission. So 189 crit chance. Good enough for almost solid oranges. Nice juicy numbers. So this is going to be our new crit chance mod. Organ Shatter still hasn't changed. You're either going to be using Organ Shatter or Gladiator Might or both on any weapon that is crit based. Now we're going to introduce a new mod. This new mod is going to be Weeping Wounds, which is another Deimos mod. This is a bounty reward, same as Blood Rush. This one gives you status chance. And the reason why you equip this is because of condition overload. It is heavily reliant on melee damage increase that's procced based on the number of statuses that are procced on the enemy. So if there's no statuses on the enemy, this mod won't give you any base damage. But if there's 2 statuses on the enemy, this mod will give you 160. And a base pressure point is 120. So at 2 statuses, 2 unique statuses, so if you have like 100 slash procs on something, it still only counts as 1. But if you have 1 impact and 1 slash, well, that's 2 unique ones, right? So this will give you, with 2 statuses, more damage than pressure point. So we want as many statuses as possible with that, because this scales up, I think, until 16 unique statuses, or is it 15? I think it's one of the two. It's not as high as it used to be, but either way, it's incredibly high. Let me get a drink of water. So it's another conditional. And because of this, these 6 mods are going to become our new almost permanent residents of melee builds. And for now, this is going to be a mod which is eventually going to be tossed, but for now we're talking about clearing the star chart. This mod is something I would recommend also. It's Drifting Contact. It's from Nightmare Missions. It is an RNG drop from the mission rewards, but you get it from Nightmare Missions. Very cheap mod to upgrade. You might have this before from earlier, because there's no really loot pool. It's just you're either doing a Nightmare mission or not, right? If you get this, you can put this on the 101 build to help out a ton. And again, the Weeping Wounds, Condition Overload, and Blood Rush, none of these mods are worth buying. Unless you're comfortable selling stuff for plat. They're definitely good pickups. Do unranked, though. They're not worth buying max ranked. Especially Condition Overload and Weeping Wounds. Good lord. Maybe there's an argument for Blood Rush. Berserker Fury, Weeping Wounds, Conditioned Overload, and Blood Rush are all Deimos mods. So you're just going to be running bounties. I think it's the tier 3 for Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds. But they cycle back and forth. The bounty rotates. So you have to check in every now and then. On, I think it's the 30 to 50 bounty. It's not the highest one, and it's not the lowest 2. I think it's the third one. But yeah, just make sure to check it. One of these is going to be available guaranteed, but not both at the same time. And Berserker Fury is another infested drop. Condition Overload, I think, is an ancient drop. Let me check on that. Yeah, it has a very, very low drop chance. But it's from infested units on Deimos. And you kill these by the truckload. Yeah, they added a ton of them to the drop table. A ton of enemies to the drop table. So it's the drop table is a 3.5 chance, and then it's diluted by the loot pool for an effective chance of 0.02. That's deceiving because you kill a shit ton of these. You kill a ton of these. And even Kuva Bombards, if you like Kuva survivals, you've probably picked up enough. As low as this drop chance is, there have been Kuva survivals that I have done where I have picked up 2. Okay. So don't let these drop chances deceive you. You kill a ton of these enemies. Like when you do an ISO vault, right? Like a lot of those enemies that are like running at you that you're just mowing down. These enemies, there's a lot of these enemies in there. Like the Deimos Jugulus, right? Like a bunch of these spawn. The Deimos Carnus, right? The Diploid, there's a ton of these. So don't. This is a drop chance for an item on an enemy that you mow down. You'll pick this up eventually, especially if you get to like rank 5 standing with the Entrati. You're almost guaranteed to get one of these just by RNG alone, right? So you'll get this eventually. So another Deimos mod, Weeping Wounds, is from Bounty Rewards. This is surprisingly easy to pick up. I have picked up 2 of these on the same bounty. Blood Rush, I think I've only ever done 1 or 2 in a single bounty when this was up. But this is... I couldn't see this being something where you have to farm like days and days and days for it. Just go grab this. So, Condition Overload, Berserker Fury, Weeping Wounds, Blood Rush are Deimos mods. And make sure to pick these up because every build that I suggest after this is going to have these 4 full mods on it. Berserker Fury, maybe not, but Weeping Wounds, Blood Rush, and Condition Overload are definitely going to be on there. And if it's a decent crit weapon, Organ Shatter, and probably Gladiator Might on your slash builds. But, okay. So the next mod, the final one, because we only have 1 mod slot available, my recommendation is actually going to be Molten Impact. Either do Molten Impact... if I can spell it. Or Volcanic Edge. Okay, probably a Volcanic Edge. And the only alternative to this is if you are going straight up like Slash. Obviously you wouldn't mod for Heat then. You could then mod for Carnus Mandible, which is a very regular drop on Deimos again. So now we're doing the full Deimos set, right? This would help out a ton and give you the status chance, right? Adding plus slash on a mod does not increase how much slash damage you do. It increases your chance of triggering a slash proc when a slash proc does get triggered. It makes it a bigger part of the proc pool. That being said, this will increase your modded raw damage. So food for thought. It's not a complete loss modding for this. And evasion and immunity to status effects for 2 seconds. That can be pretty useful on a heavy attack. But this is essentially your new setup. I like running heat personally, just to get another thing in the pool. Wherever that mod went, hold on. There we go. Something like this is going to make running the star chart super easy. Okay, very, very basic. You got a decent amount of combo duration. It's going to be pretty easy for the people that love running melee to keep this up, run through. All you need to do to keep your combo up is just smack something every like 15 seconds, right? So like every 14 seconds, smack something. And it still prioritizes slash a bit. It's what, exactly 50% slash weighting? Not bad. But this will then, in turn, and let me show you the performance difference, right? We'll pause. So about 1,300, 2,200, up to about a 2,900. With a couple of corrosive procs weighing things down. All right, let's go to this guy. So the raw damage is lower a tiny bit, but that's because we're building crit. Now we're over 2,000, 3,000, 1,700 on a ground finisher. But more importantly, we're gaining access to dots. You don't always have to look at the raw damage, the modded damage, the yellow and orange numbers that show up. I was getting like slash procs for like 2,200. I thought I saw one for like 21,000. So the slash procs are starting to weigh in and do significant amounts of damage. So this would be like a second tier combo counter build, which is a quick attack combo counter used interchangeably. Most people might just say quick attack though. So this would be another example of like a really meta. You've completed the star chart, but you're trying to run through and finish stuff up, but you really don't have the mods for Steel Path yet. Not that it's going to change this that much. Okay, another one. And I can scream this at the top of my lungs. You should have a Panzer. I can't. Let me get rid of the Prime mods. Not that it changes anything. It's literally just the Prime versions. Animal Instinct, Primed Animal Instinct. Use the best one you got. Pack Leader, Prime Pack Leader. That's all I'm swapping out. Okay. I cannot scream this at the top of my lungs anymore, but you should have a Panzer. Okay. Reason being is this animal you get from Deimos again. Obviously, another Deimos thing. A lot of really strong things come from Deimos. Gives you free viral on everything. And let me show you that. And we'll talk about mods. It's pretty basic. Guy's going to come over here and he's going to spit. All three at once. Excellent. Look at that. 10 viral stacks. even with a magnetic Ignis, 6,100 slash tick from 100 munition. From 100 munitions slash status. Anyway, it's free viral, which makes your life so much easier. And it comes from viral quills. That was the thing where it spit out. It has like a little pouch under its neck or under its jaw, and it spits it out. Launches 6 quills at enemies within 20 meters, each dealing 60 viral damage with a 40% status chance. If the target is affected by a viral status, a spore is added. 4-second cooldown. It does that little attack all the time. And Panzer Devolution, this is the reason why I can't recommend this weapon or this pet enough. Again, go get standing with the Entradi on Deimos, the Necrolus, and make one of these. It doesn't even need to be like a complicated one. Literally just the cheapest one you can make, and use this build. Panzer Devolution devolves into a larva upon death and spits quills at enemies, dealing 60 viral damage each. When it dies, it turns into like a little snake over your shoulder. Okay? And it'll revive on its own while it's dealing damage. So it's still dealing viral damage. Now, here's the big thing with it, and I haven't seen too many builds for these include this. The important thing about this when you are trying to get used to Steel Path is the Hunter Recovery mod, okay? This mod causes the damage that the spores do, because it deals a viral tick, right? This causes the damage done by all of the spores, which spread as you damage them. So it's not dealing that much damage, but it's dealing where with that, there were only 3 enemies, so all of them were infected. If it only infects one enemy, you can run up or hit it with your primary or hit it with your melee or whatever, and it will then spread the spores. So it's only doing like 30 damage each time. But you can spread it to like 30 to 40 enemies at once. Okay, now the big deal with this is that Hunter Recovery will then take 30% of the total amount of damage that all of those spores are doing and will heal you for it. So if you're having trouble keeping your HP up, this will heal you constantly. As long as there's spores dealing damage somewhere on the map, this will heal you. And this is another Cetus, or not Cetus, Cetus mod. It's another part of the Hunter set, and it is influenced, as much as it matters, by slash damage, right? Another set of mods which is new. So it's the same build essentially as before, but now we've taken off shields and we've added 2 new mods. Okay, so we have Fetch, we have Radar, Pack Leader, and this time Hunter Recovery is going on. And we have Health Still, Armor Still. That stays. We have new mods, though. Synth Deconstruct and Synth Fiber. These are wonderful mods if you are having trouble keeping health and energy up. Especially energy. Because every time you pick up a health orb, you'll gain health. But if you are maxed on HP, you can't pick up health orbs, right? If you're maxed on energy, you can't pick up an energy orb. This will allow you to pick up health orbs, and it'll give your Panzer a little bit of armor. But the big deal is if you are at max HP, you will be picking up energy as you go because of equilibrium on the frame, right? Health pickups give 110% energy. Energy pickups give 110% health. So you're going to be picking up health orbs the entire time. So you're constantly going to be getting energy back. Reason being is that the spores that this pet puts out deal damage. Now the thing is enemies injured by the companions have a 20% chance to drop a health orb when killed. Because this pet deals spores that spread to everything in a radius, everything has been dealt damage to it. And because of this mod having a 25% chance to cause the enemy to drop a health orb, and synth fiber, you're going to be picking up basically for every group of enemies, say like 10, for example. Let's just do, hold on, let's make it an even number. 12. Okay. So if 12 enemies around you have the spores on them and you kill all 12, then there's going to be, on average, large number average, 4 health orbs, which will interact with synth fiber and equilibrium, and you will pick all of the health orbs up, which will then give you about 110 energy total, right? And while the spores are dealing damage, Hunter Recovery will be healing you the entire time. So this just ends up giving you a crap ton of energy. So this becomes a very core part. For those that are using the Smita, synth deconstruct isn't as important because you really don't want the Smita attacking anything, but because of the Panzer's preset mods and the fact that it can spread spores everywhere, deconstruct is a big boon to energy production. So this becomes a great example of a core build. Okay, this is, you finish the star chart, you're working on getting ready for Steel Path. This is going to give you so much HP per second. And you will be picking up energy orbs, and not only that, because Nezha has a way of generating energy orbs and health orbs with the 2. It is a massive amount of energy. It is a massive amount of energy. Now, one thing of note with this, and it's going to be my final note for this video because it's been getting pretty long. If you find yourself getting pretty comfortable with Nezha, one of the things you can do is swap out... I wouldn't say Flow yet. If you get really comfortable with Nezha, Flow goes also. Okay? Flow is not necessary on Nezha. Even with Divine Spears costing 100, you can regenerate that. Reaping Chakram, do not buy this. But this is another option for even more health and energy production. But even on its own, because we're using quick thinking, I would advise against it for now. Though, just so you know, eventually I do sort of get rid of quick thinking and equilibrium, and I do go to a health tank on Nezha personally, where it's just like it's a raw armor tank. But this build for now is very, very solid when combined with the Panzer, and this will absolutely get you through Steel Path, the frame build and the Panzer setup. So one more look. This build, Link Health and Link Armor are just upgraded versions of Vitality and the armor. If you do not have Link Armor, if you don't have Link Armor, it is not worth slotting Metal Fiber. Okay. Because Synth Fiber gives you 100%, so does Metal Fiber. So it's not really giving you a ton of EHP. But if you have Link Armor, it is definitely worth it to slot Link Armor. But if you don't have Link Armor, these have a really crappy ratio of trying to get them, though you probably have them already. But if you don't have Health Link, Enhanced Vitality, if you don't have Link Armor, go for Shield Capacity. Because Synth Fiber is almost the same as Metal Fiber, and this will just give your pet more effective health points. So there you go. Final answer. I'm going to be making a 103 of this series where we talk about steel path builds, but this is an incredibly strong setup for steel path running, getting further into survival runs on the for star chart running, not steel path, and for arbitrations, getting more importantly safely to those rotation C rewards, so you can at least start getting them. Getting to rotation C's on the star chart, maybe doing like your first hour long run, on like the higher starting level missions. Like say like infested survival. This isn't gonna take you an hour into some of the Zeraman missions, but it would still make those very reasonable to run, so you can at least start knocking out your syndicates. Because the Zeraman is going to be a big reset on your power level because of the weapons available there. So this is sort of like the fine point of like trying to make the steel path transition as easy as possible. I cannot recommend Nezha enough when combined with the Panzer. It is just such a potent combination, especially if you don't have arcanes on the frame yet. So this is my recommendation for bridging that gap and starting to get into like the star chart or the steel path, but definitely for like arbitration running, and maybe finishing up your syndicates for the cities, the open areas. So Fortuna, Cetus, the Zeraman, the Necrolus, getting all of those done safer. I just can't recommend this setup enough. It is an incredibly potent setup. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to upload this and then I'm going to make a Steel Path 101 or modding 103 setup, Steel Path 101, where we start including primed mods. It's just I haven't seen any builds for early steel path because just a small little rant. Most of the Warframe creators, and I want to give out a shout out to one of the guys in the Alliance. It's Pure. He streams, but he just got to steel path for the first time, and he's like an MR10, and seeing somebody do the steel path now versus when I had to do it, where I had all of the prime mods, I had all the arcanes, I had piles of Idis Essence. Not that the galvanized mods were a thing, but like Kuva weapons, and to see somebody try to do it for the first time, yeah, it's sort of a reality check. So this, I've tested this stuff in this setup in Steel Path. It does do it, but I'm not going to make it my official recommendation. Like I did this setup in Steel Path. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, this setup does Steel Path Tavoni. I got to 20 minutes. I did this build 20 minutes on Tavoni Steel Path, no problem. So it's just, it works, but you should be able to mod better. So this is a no arcane, no carry way of the solo players in the clan and the alliance to be able to start doing the steel path. But it at least gets you into arbitration so you can start getting those galvanized mods. And finish up the Zeraman leveling standings. So you can get the Zeraman weapons, because that is going to permanently change how you play the game. And it absolutely makes doing the steel path significantly easier. So I didn't want to include it now because when I started doing the steel path, the Zeraman wasn't a thing. Galvanized mods weren't a thing, and everybody was running around trying to farm up uh, the arcanes for the steel path. So this is a build and a setup that you can easily do. It's MR10 weapons. I think the Hystrix is MR7, and the Broken War is whenever you complete the quest. So easy setup. Nejas from the dojo. No MR requirement, so you can do this entire thing for the cost of basically like 4 potatoes. Um, and the Panzer is going to be the most difficult thing to get because you need standing for it. But I cannot recommend this guy enough, particularly the Panzer, not the Crescent, not any of the other ones. I can't recommend this enough in terms of like general survivability. It is just so potent with the Equilibrium set. But anyway, thank you for watching. It's been an hour, a little bit longer with more explanations. I'll release a modding 103 with steel path arcanes and like proper builds and whatnot. But anyway, y'all take it easy. Thank you for hanging out. If you made it this far, y'all have a blessed day. Question, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section. Thank you all for hanging out. Stay excellent.